and going live. And we're live. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. This will be a little Q4 review. So I'm joined here by community member Spencer, and I'm Michael. Many of you may know me as Michael from Telegram. And we've got a pre-recorded interview that we're going to be streaming now with Rob, which we recorded last night. And do you have any thoughts you want to add, Spencer, before we swap over to the interview with Rob? You're on mute, Spencer. You need to unmute your microphone.
Yeah,
there we go.
The perils of live broadcasting. I'm very excited to kick off the new year. Of course, this is intended to be part of the Horizen Community Council outreach, which is an outreach by members of the community. None of us are employed by or compensated by the Horizen entity, the Zen Blockchain Foundation. And so, with that being said, we are very excited to recap 2020, and no one better to do that than Rob Viglione.
And if you have any questions at all, fire them away in the live chat, and at the end Spencer and I will do our best to try and answer any questions you might have. And this pre-recorded interview with Rob goes for about 1 hour, so I'll just switch over to that now, and I hope you enjoy. So I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to just dive into the Q4 review, because we didn't do a live stream for the Q4 report, but you have a great little blog post, and I thought it would be great if we can just do a little video about that, and we'll just go through and have you basically walk viewers through the Q4 achievements. So I'll handball over to you, Rob, and you can perhaps share your screen and show us what the team has been up to and what any big plans are for this coming year, 2021.
For sure, 2021 is going to rocket, and 2020 wasn't too shabby anyway. So let me share. This is going to be not so formal. I don't have slides prepared, but what I do have is a blog that we can walk through. So let me share and tell me if it comes up properly.
Yep, looking good.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, 2020 was quite a year, battling through various market cycles and still trying to keep our eye on the prize of getting our core technology to market, and not just get something to market, but to make sure that what we get to market is actually meaningful and carves out a valuable part of this industry. Because we shouldn't, I think we're well past the time where it's cool to just fork a GitHub repository and launch a project. I think those days are kind of gone. And we just had this explosion of different projects from 2014 through the peak mania in 2017 of people just launching projects that some of them were extremely unique and pushing innovative technology, and others were really just experimenting by cloning or copying GitHub repositories, launching projects, and rebranding and trying something a little different, maybe trying some parameters in a different way. And that was great because there was so much different innovation in different areas and different ideas that were being tried. But now we're hitting a point of industry maturity where projects are really, they're carving out niches in a way that's analogous to businesses carving out their own value propositions in a marketplace. And you can think of this as a marketplace for ideas, a marketplace for different types of value propositions, some of them profit-oriented value propositions, some of them community service-oriented value propositions, and everything in between. And for us as a project, we're sort of veterans in the industry now, launching in 2017. But over the years, we've evolved significantly. We've evolved from how we do business to, from the early days of just being extremely idealistic, we want to do everything kind of guys, and this kind of general clustering of ideas around privacy, to now evolving those concepts, shedding the ideas that maybe don't make all that much sense, or maybe other projects are doing them really well, so the market doesn't necessarily need more of that. And then honing in, just really taking those ideas and honing in on something that is meaningful and we're confident is going to be market dominant in a certain way over the next, say, 5 to 10 year horizon, right? That's what we're looking at. That's what we've been looking at for the last couple of years. And that's why we chose the path, the technology path that you can see we really dove into in 2020, and we're going to be delivering roughly middle of this year. All right, so just keep that in mind. The framework in mind of 2020 was really refining, honing in on this unique value proposition that really has staying power and is meaningful in a very congested marketplace with a lot of shiny bells and whistles and cool, fancy things going on. But we chose a path that was not the easy path. And we certainly could have made Zen much higher. We certainly could have gotten much bigger splashes in different ways, say by just diving into DeFi or diving into this or that hot sector of the marketplace. We chose to stay focused, and we chose to really hone in on that thing that is going to have staying power over the coming years. So that's just a little bit of flavor and context for what's going on. And then there was a little kernel of something that I think is amazing that happened in 2020. And this little kernel was on the community side, because it's not all about technology. We're building ecosystems here, and ecosystems are founded or brought together with the technology, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the people that choose to join this ecosystem and do something with it or not. All right, so we can build the best palace in the world, and if no one wants to come and party in that palace, maybe that's a bad analogy, but if no one wants to come and participate in our ecosystem, what's the point of it to begin with? So that little kernel of what was really amazing that launched in 2020 was the Horizen Community Council. And that's what this presentation is being brought to you by the Horizen Community Council. And this is an organization that, my hope is going to be something that explodes in 2021. So I'm fully supportive of it, and we'll talk about it as we go through here, but just again, keep that in the back of your mind. So let me caffeinate up a little bit. Still a little early in the morning for me here in the Caribbean. Okay, so 2020, we call it the year of the breakthrough because this is really, we went from, yes, we chose an architectural path of this sidechain idea. So rather than try to come up with the optimal main chain that does everything that any blockchain system could ever want, we chose to compartmentalize the architecture and create a blockchain of blockchains ecosystem that is just integrated by a high security system, a cross-chain transfer protocol, and then layering on top of that, zero knowledge proofs for added security that's in the pipeline for 2021. But the idea was we want to create a flexible, customizable blockchain ecosystem where it's permissionless, which goes to the heart of what Satoshi brought to the world, this permissionless distributed system that has value, because we don't want to be gatekeepers. And our whole job over the last several years and over the next couple of years is to code ourselves out of jobs. That's the whole point of this stuff. And that's where I'm firmly adamant about us going that direction. And you're going to see it with just even the decisions that we make on the technology architecture to then some of the implementations of it, things like voting systems, so that you don't have, say a nonprofit corporation like you do now that, oversees a treasury pool. What you're going to have is a democratization of that treasury pool. And this is all made possible with the tech choices that we made that we really started making significant progress on in 2020. So I know this blog, starts off with kind of Q4 highlights, but I want to talk about the big 2020 picture. And it started with a white paper, the Zendu white paper at the beginning of 2020, which was really formalizing the ideas that we've been designing over the previous year, the year prior to that. We got this white paper out to market at the beginning of 2020, and then we spent the entire year fanatically designing, planning, and getting started coding on this massive system. And it really is a massive system. So because this isn't structured, guys, I didn't put together slides or anything like that. I figured I could just walk you through the blog post as it is, but Michael, Spencer, please stop me if there's anything that you want to clarify or maybe just point out because it's cool, or maybe you think there are other implications that go beyond what I'm saying. Please just interject on this. So really probably the kind of grand summary way of looking at this before we dive into the details is to look at 2020 by the numbers. And this is a cool little dashboard visual that Lucy and her team in marketing put together just to give you some highlights of where do we stand. So number one, at the end of the day, Horizen is an A-rated project by Flipside Crypto. Flipside Crypto, again, is like the Standard & Poor's or Moody's of our industry. In fact, they're actually partnered with Moody's to do ratings, right? So just like you would have rating of a company and its stock, you have ratings of public blockchain projects, and we are in the top 20 of their ratings, and we are an A. So an A is about as high as you can get. There's still an S that goes right above A. What is it, like? I don't know if you guys remember what S stands for, super, or something that's that next level of amazingness beyond an A. But we are an A. An A is something that is we're extremely proud of because it is a third party reviewing our project, and it's not like we take this and run with it and think our job is done. But it's at least a nice indicator that a third party that does this stuff professionally, looking across the entire industry, looks at our project and says that of the thousands that are out there, even though our market cap is something like 75 or 80 in the marketplace right now, we are actually, based on fundamentals, a top 20 project with an A rating. That is something that's really meaningful, and it's nice to end the year there. They look at a variety of metrics, from the developer metrics on looking into our code base repositories directly. They look at our community user activity, network activity. They look at our market's maturity, and they combine all this stuff in their own way, and then they spit out the score. And we're just very proud of that. A huge event for us was our first halving. And for those that are new to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency world, the halving is a really big deal because we chose to just mimic Bitcoin's supply path. We didn't, we're innovating in different ways, and the general idea is pick and choose your battles wisely, and you don't need to fight every single battle of every single war all the time, right? So rather than try to innovate on every single parameter in our system, for the money supply, we chose Bitcoins. It's a capped money supply at 21 million, and it has an emission rate that decreases over time. So it kind of decreases and hits an asymptotic limit at 21 million coins Zen. And it's a rate that starts off very strong, and they call this like a very strong inflation rate. Now, from the economists out there, it's a little bit of a misnomer because it's not inflation in the sense that we're creating more Zen out of thin air. There's a fixed 21 million Zen locked, and they get unlocked and released to the marketplace with every block that gets mined. And the rate at which they get released declines over time. And the way that we're structured is the first 4 years, we had the highest release rate of Zen to the marketplace. So from like an investor's perspective, or people that are following the project or mining or participating in different ways, this could be seen from like the very narrow perspective as like a flooding of the market of newly released Zen. Well, we just went through the first event where that got cut in half. The rate of emission got cut in half, and there was a lot of community discussion, team discussion, and a bunch of people were concerned, what's going to happen here, right? If the block rewards get cut in half, are miners going to drop off? Are node operators going to drop off? We have over 40,000 nodes in our network. Is that going to collapse in half? Right? Is our mining hash rate going to collapse in half because the rewards get cut in half? Right? There was a lot of concern of the uncertainty that the implications of this could mean. And we're really happy to report that the project has actually exploded through the halving. So we are so much better off now. Our hash rate's up. We still have more nodes, or at least we didn't lose nodes on the network. The price of Zen has exploded. Like everything, our community is exploding. So all of the uncertainty that existed before the halving event, maybe it was like a Y2K event. There's a lot of anxiety going into Y2K, and then you realize the morning after, well, the world didn't end. Well, for us, the Horizen world didn't end either. In fact, we're actually much better off now post-halving. So really happy about that. Our metrics, our community metrics, have been exploding over the last year. In fact, over the last 2 weeks, Jonathan, our growth manager, just told me we had something like a 400% increase in the rate of new community members joining the project. And this is reflected in metrics like number of wallet downloads. So we have over 110,000 wallet downloads now, 109,000 on the slide here. That's a lot of wallet downloads, and this is specifically for Sphere downloads. A lot of transactions happened in 2020, so we had almost 7 million transactions happened in 2020. It's a lot of people doing a lot of different things on the network, and our node count has increased significantly. You can see the numbers here between secure and super nodes, 15 to 16% node count increase. This is significant because we were in a bear market for parts of 2020. Zen was in the dumpster for parts of 2020. And contrary to what any good economist would tell you, as Zen was declining, we were actually gaining nodes, which is kind of weird. And it shows that there was a latent demand or support for the project that went beyond just that immediate monetary return. And that says something significantly here. So there's a growing community, a growing set of supporters, a growing ecosystem that's taking place, whether or not the market is positive or negative for us. And that's something, again, that we're extremely proud of in 2020. We released a lot of software in 2020. In fact, we released more written lines of code than we've ever done in the project's existence in 2020. Officially 22 software releases, but they were focused on, like the biggest release was the Zendoo beta release with the Zendoo beta SDK. This is an enormous release. This comprised over 110,000 lines of code across 1,200 software files. This hugely complex but elegant software project was released in beta in July of 2020. So again, an enormous release. And then not just the code itself, but then all the testing that goes into it, the parallel testnet that was set up to support it specifically so that developers can start playing around with the SDK. I mean, there was an enormous amount of work that went into getting this to a new parallel testnet in beta form in 2020. That was our biggest accomplishment and something that's going to be extremely important for 2021 as we mature that and bring that to mainnet. Our community, again, more than doubled in 2020 by all metrics that we can measure, from people that join our community channels to newsletter, like people sign up to receive information on a weekly basis or a monthly basis from us. And the numbers for all of these different channels that we have to communicate with the community have been exploding, doubling over the last year, despite the price of Zen for almost all of 2020 not being in a good position. We released 5 new software repositories. We hosted or participated in 39 different events throughout the year, despite COVID, right? This is pretty amazing. I mean, most of these were done virtually. So, I mean, conforming to the realities of what we had to perform in 2020, COVID was a really big deal. It was a shock to us as a project, just like it was a shock to the world. For us, it was a very acute shock. So it hit us hard in March or February and March, where we actually had to close our office where our developers work. And a couple of our developers actually got COVID. So this was not a good scenario. It really slowed down the release actually of Zendoo beta release that we did in July. It would have been probably a couple of months earlier had COVID not happened. So for us, it was a shock. Zen took a big shock, just like all risk assets around the world, and cryptocurrencies in particular. But at the end of the day, we ended up weathering that storm pretty well. Kept things going, kept the code going, and we kept delivering despite that. We did a couple of really interesting things in 2020 as well, in terms of starting to lay the groundwork to ultimately be able to engage with our developer community more effectively. So again, laying the groundwork. This isn't something that we're gonna claim huge accomplishments for yet, but it's really cool where we're going. So one is launching the Horizen developer environment so that we can have a curated environment or community portal for developers to come and figure out, well, hey, I like this project Horizen. It's some cool stuff going on. What can I do to participate? And then what we do as a team is we try to carve out different tasks that are appropriate for, say, like freelance developers to come in and start working on. That's like phase 1. So simple things. And some of the simple tasks were, hey, take the Zendoo SDK, deploy the SDK, launch your own sidechain, and prove to us that you launched your own sidechain, and you can get paid to do that. So we peg bounties in Zen to these tasks, and we've had an explosion of developers signing up for HDE. We've had some tasks accomplished, so 8 tasks actually completed. Again, just the start. And what we've been talking about doing with this group here with the HCC is, I would love HCC to actually think of simple community evangelism tasks, things that people can do that aren't necessarily developer related, that we can post up for bounty on HDE and get people to just take actions to help out. It could be simple things like, I think, Michael, the other day you had a great idea of, what about a task that just has someone catalog in a spreadsheet all of the crypto influencers out there, right? YouTubers. And we can classify this in different ways as well, but just to get people to start doing some work that adds value to the ecosystem, so that they can participate, they can earn Zen in the process, because we want as a community to distribute Zen as broadly as we possibly can. We don't want strong concentration in our money supply. We want to get it out there to as many people around the world as we possibly can. So creating these types of tasks and loading them to HDE, I think, might be a really interesting channel to do that. So pretty excited for that idea, and that's something I'd love to see a lot more of in 2021. The other kind of kernel of an idea, or start of something very, very interesting is, we've created the Horizen Early Adopter Program for developers. And this is to get developers early access and unique access to our team as well, to start playing around with our tools, start getting a feel for, what is the Zendu thing? What is this SDK? What are the capabilities? Really, and start envisioning what you can do with it, but then also start getting some hands-on experience with it. It has different communication channels, and in total, between HDE and HEAP, the Horizen Early Adopter Program, we have something like 2,500 plus, maybe it's 3,000 developers at this point signed up. So you can see this sort of enormous interest. I never would have thought we would have something like 3,000 developers interested in the project when we started 4 years ago. I mean, that's to me an enormous number, but something that we just launched these 2 little programs in their beta phases without really doing anything with them other than just launching them. And we just had this huge surge of interest. So it does show that there's something there, there's something going on that will say metastasize or pay off in different ways over time as we grow our community. All right, so where are we? I'll just run through. I know I had that summary slide just to give you most of the big picture stuff, but you can see all of our different communication channels are exploding. And I think we should always frame things in terms of calls to action, because I don't want to be like a professor lecturing here. What I want is for people to look at what's going on and figure out where and what ways they can participate. And guys, it does not get any easier than just going and following us on Twitter. It does not get any easier than that. Go to Twitter, look at the feed, like things, retweet things, join the newsletter if you want different information delivered to your mailbox. Go to whatever group is your favorite, whatever communication channel you want, and start participating. All right, and the numbers of people that are doing that have been exploding over the last year. So the big tech breakthrough, and this is what I was talking about, maybe rather than going through, hey, look, there's an enormous amount of stuff that was delivered, an enormous amount of software that was delivered, and what will be evident over time is this is it's a really big deal in terms of the quality, the sophistication, and ultimately the scalability of this type of software. It's not like we're going out there and copying and pasting GitHub repositories. We're creating an enormous amount of new innovative software that has not existed yet in the industry. And still, the industry doesn't realize this. Some people are starting to get it, but they will understand much more when we actually get this software from this parallel testnet to mainnet. And with the more sophisticated elements as well, like the zero knowledge proofs that actually secure side chains to, with the mainnet. So once we get these things delivered in roughly the middle of 2021, I'm confident this will be a shock to the market of, wow, what have these guys been doing over the last several years? Because I can guarantee you many people that have been around in crypto for years, and they go to CoinMarketCap every day and they look at Bitcoin, they look at Ethereum, they look at all the different projects out there. And when they see Zen, they think, a clone of Zcash. Right, this is just another privacy coin, ripping off Zcash's technology. I would say 90+% of these people have no idea what we've been doing. And this is, for a variety of reasons, it is such a cluttered industry. And we also have taken a fairly humble approach to not wanting to get out there and, get ahead of ourselves in terms of, bragging about what we're doing or trying to get out there. I just don't like braggarts to begin with. Maybe it's just my style as well, and different team members that we have. But we like to be the silent professionals where we just go and get shit done and then deliver it. And that's what we've been doing. And I think that it will become in your face to the rest of the industry when we actually get to mainnet, and we get to mainnet with these really ridiculously high profile partners that are using our technology. And actually Zen is the gas that fuels all of these sidechains that are going to be hitting our mainnet this year. So anyway, in 2020, it was really about just laying the groundwork. So getting the architecture done, the design, the plans, and we just finished, by the way, the final project plan to get all of this stuff to mainnet. It is enormous. I would say I was shocked. I used to do software project management for the US Air Force, and that was a fairly sophisticated thing with a lot of controls, a lot of procedures, processes, a lot of project management tools that were going on and being used. Very, very high-end, software companies that were working with the Air Force. What the teams put together in terms of their project plan blew me away. I did not realize that, not that I didn't realize that we could do this, because I'm extremely optimistic about the professionals that were brought together, but I was just so pleasantly made aware of how we've matured as a software company that can execute on very complex software. And this is like kind of an interesting little aside to think of is I started this talk by saying our job is to write ourselves out of a job, right? This is the vision, the mandate that I have for us here as a team is I don't want us to always be just like, driving this project as a single entity. I want this thing to be much more decentralized. But what I realized is we straddle a world of open source where our repositories are open to anyone in the world. Anyone in the world can come and look what's going on and contribute. But we also have at the kernel of our ecosystem, one of the most professional engineering teams out there that's driving very sophisticated, complex software development that you just don't get by people kind of coming on a weekend to looking at your repository and doing some coding here and there. And what we need is a combination of the two. So I'm a big believer that as we mature, and as we have been maturing, but really over the next couple of years, as we democratize more, I want to see the open source element of the ecosystem explode, where you have so many more developers, so many more engineering companies coming in and developing. But at the kernel here, right now, you have Horizen Labs that is doing a phenomenal job, building and releasing this software that makes it all possible. So anyway, not to wax too much on how the team's performing and what we're delivering, but there's a very complex system that goes into this. That at the end of the day, what you get is a blockchain's ecosystem where anyone can come and grab our SDK, our software developer kit, and launch their own blockchain. And it is part of this bigger ecosystem. So right now, that these sidechains that you can launch are interoperable with the main Horizen blockchain. And by interoperable, I mean you can send Zen back and forth between them, and you can send zero-knowledge certificates back to the main chain. And this is what gives you security properties of the sidechains. This is the start. Ultimately, we need to be doing things like having sidechains communicate with other sidechains so that we can have like actual ecosystem service sidechains. Like imagine a price stable asset sidechain where you have like a stable dollar, stable euro, and so forth on a sidechain, and other sidechains can actually get those services and like use those price stable asset services from that sidechain. We'll have other types of chains that provide other services. Maybe one chain can do smart contracting, and another chain can do tokenization with sophisticated tokenization standards and so forth. You can think of different types of utilities that might be useful for more than just one sidechain to have, and that's where we need to go next. And that's more on our horizon, if you will. All right, I talk a lot, guys. You can see there's just been a lot of software delivered over the last year. Maybe let me take a quick sip of, get some more caffeine here so I can get even more hyper about the really cool stuff on our partnerships. All right, guys, anything you want to stop me on and just have dialogue over that on the technology deliveries that we've done in 2020 and maybe some things that are going in 2021?
Yes, a couple of questions from the everyday user point of view. Obviously, with the challenges that the market price of Zen had for the foundation in the prior year, as we all talked about, constraining activities and developments. So let's talk about that point where the average user actually interfaces with Horizen, that being the wallets. Could you give us some thoughts as to how important it is to the foundation to have a branded wallet, such as a branded mobile wallet, as opposed to relying on our third-party partners?
Well, you got right to the heart of a very excellent question, Spencer. I straddle the fence on this. So one part of me says I don't want to be in the wallet business because we would do it half-assed compared to companies whose entire existence revolves around building wallets. So that's one part of me, and that part of me says we have limited engineering resources. We should focus on the protocol, right? That's what we do really well, and we should really hone in and like charge into that value proposition that really makes us unique, and then try to find partners that specialize in wallets and to get them to work with us. So actually, that's been the thread that we're on. And the other side of it is, yes, of course, from like it would make me feel better at night if we had control and like a dedicated team of our own wallet that we controlled, in the sense that we could constantly be immediately responsive, or at least directly responsive with the community and our community's needs. Because if we're partnered with a wallet specialist that works with many other projects, they may not necessarily understand our community's needs or be responsive to them. So yeah, that's how I look at it. Is I would love, in a resource unconstrained world, I would have our own in-house team of wallet experts, everything from from product management and really thinking of this as a product useful to end users, and how do we optimize it for them? How do we solicit continuously feedback from the community on what they actually want to see in it? How do we triage these requests into like a coherent strategy? And then having a whole full suite team, from the full stack engineers to front end engineers to make and then UX designers and all of this to make it a successful product. As of right now, there's no way we can do it. We just can't. And you nailed it. In 2020, we actually drilled in and focused specifically on the protocol stuff, because this is really all we could afford, and we just don't have the resources to release what it would take. I mean, to do this well, I would say I would want a team of maybe 10 people to be dedicated to a wallet as a product. We don't have that. And when we launched in 2017, we were launching very amateur wallets, and I say it amateurishly. I say amateur in a very endearing way, because these were at first community contributions to the ecosystem. We had developers that were in their spare time modifying open source code bases to tailor them to Zen, and that was awesome. But this doesn't scale very well into the future, because the wallet space has become much more sophisticated and mature over the last several years. Now, I mean, where do we go going forward? If we had a flood of resources and we can actually hire in a good way, I would be up for having a wallet team within the community, like dedicated to wallet products within our community. As of right now, we don't. So it's just one of these things that it's up there in my head. So right now, what we're doing, because I don't like to just ever be I don't want to ever let inaction or let indecision cause inaction. I don't like that. So for me, it's okay, I mentally compartmentalize this, but what can we do right now? And right now, what we're doing is we're reaching out to other wallet providers in the marketplace to see if we can strike a deal where we can have a meaningful partnership where they can provide a mobile wallet for our community, so that dedicated for our community and tailored to our community's needs, so that it's not just Zen in another multi-coin wallet, which by the way we have. So we have several multi-coin mobile wallets that have Zen in them, and they're good wallets. So you can today use Zen on your mobile. It's just we don't have a dedicated one for us. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I know I went off on a bit of a tangent, but there's a lot behind it, and I just wanted to. I think it's always good to just lay out the case for both sides so that we can all think jointly what makes sense right now.
One thing which occurs to me is having a number of third-party wallets that are multi-coin, if you associate yourself very closely with one, then the others would likely lose interest in you. The other thing is having the internal capability or to partner with a company that can create a Zen specific wallet that allows us to have more long range planning for things like the governance. When the DAO comes, I'm presuming that the wallet would be the interface for voting and for delegating voting and things of that nature. Is that a fair statement?
I mean, so I can't speak to the future state of the Treasury voting system in particular. The reason why I'm not quickly just saying yes and agreeing with you is because I would love to see zero knowledge proofs for voting so that we can retain ballot secrecy. And, you know, sure, I know the state of snarks is improving significantly to be able to potentially do certain operations on mobile. But as of right now, the way that we're going to build the circuit to process you know, these types of voting transactions, I can't say definitively. So like my first guess, the conservative guess would be you're probably going to need a full node to be able to vote, would be my conservative guess. Now, obviously, that's not good enough. And obviously, we need to expand that because if we're a true democracy doesn't restrict voting to certain classes of people that can do certain things. And not everyone is going to be in a position around the world to be able to host a full node. So we obviously need to expand that. The ideal scenario is we make voting as easy as possible, and there's nothing easier than being able to do it on your mobile. So I'm with you. In vision, I'm with you. I just can't say with the first release, it would be that.
Okay.
So cool. Well, guys, I'm a little bit more caffeinated. Thank you for the question, Spencer. Let me dive into the other big pillar of what we started doing in 2020 that you're going to see a heck of a lot more of in 2021. And this is on partnerships. And the idea here is, yeah, we're building this great tech. We think it's great. Doesn't the world agree with us? Well, hey, rather than just assuming they do, let's go out to the market and start talking to everyone. And let's just get on calls, talk to every other project in the industry, talk to every other company who will accept our call and tell them about what we're doing and see if there's some way that we can work together now with the realization that we don't have a production ready product, right? We're not in production, we're not on mainnet with this stuff, but we have an SDK today. And with that SDK, we have a parallel testnet. So we can start doing proofs of concept today for those brave partners that are willing to start working with us. If they find us interesting enough where they're willing to start working with us at the level of maturity that we are, that's awesome. And we were a little bit, I won't say timid at all. Like we love going out there and talking to different projects and people to let them know what we're doing. But we were shocked by the reception that we're getting in the marketplace. So for, you know, for every, you know, lead that we chase, the response rates are ridiculously high, the follow-up rates are extremely high, and then ultimately at the end of this funnel, the actual signed deals that we're getting are ridiculously high. And I say ridiculously high relative to my prior belief, which was, hey, we're going to get some brave, you know, innovative companies and partners that are willing to start doing some stuff with us, but it's going to be a trickle. That's not the case. It's actually a deluge of partners that are coming into the ecosystem in various ways. And now I think at this point, we've proven sufficiently that there is this really large demand for what we're building. And now we can start thinking a little bit more methodically of, okay, how are we going to really be more intentional about who we're partnering with? Because we have a funnel. We have, you know, on the BD side, reaching out and introducing people to what we're doing, to spitting out the end of that BD funnel signed, you know, MOU, and then a handoff to the product team that we have to actually start building these things with these partners is a bit of a bottleneck, right? Our product team is limited in resources and can't do an infinite amount of work. So now we're at the point where we actually have too much work, where we need to throttle back a little bit and be more intentional about who we're reaching out to and who we ultimately partner with. Is it sufficiently high enough value add that it's worth, you know, adding more work to our product team's plate? TBD on that. But the good news is there are a lot of people out there that are really excited about what we're building, and we've gone out there and cultivated a lot of business. So my expectation here is, so already I think we have something like a dozen signed MOUs, and we've announced, I don't know, half a dozen of them that you can see here on the blog post. So be ready for another half a dozen partnerships to be announced ish, right? And then beyond that, you should expect probably another 24 partnerships, probably a few dozen partnerships in total, going to mainnet with us. When we're ready to push Zendu to mainnet, my intention is to have about a few dozen other partners that are building in various stages of development of their own sidechains. Some of them completely done and ready to migrate with us, and others that will be, forthcoming shortly thereafter. But the goal here was to prove to the marketplace that there is demand for what we're doing, and just start getting out there. There's been nothing better for us than just calling and talking to other people in the industry, and then outside of our industry who are looking and interested with what's going on in the industry. So far, the bread and butter for our BD team has been the blockchain industry. And the way that we've been pitching is we are providing these types of blockchain infrastructure services. Like, you can have a dedicated sidechain for you're a blockchain project. I get it. Right now, you're maybe an ERC20 token. Maybe you have your own blockchain that does something, but maybe it's functionality constrained. Maybe you can't do zero knowledge proofs on it. Well, hey, you can augment your own system with a dedicated Horizen sidechain that can process ZKPs and do these types of things that you can't do right now. Think of this as maybe like an Amazon Web Services or a palette of different services that we also have integrated infrastructure for, and economies of scale and all these things that come with the big ecosystem we've built. And you can be part of that. You can not just be part of this where you're abandoning what you're doing, but leverage what we're doing, pull in the services that make your ecosystem even stronger. That's the way we've been pitching it, and to phenomenal success thus far. And that's how we're getting these other blockchain projects to jump into the fund that we're jump into the developments with us here in a variety of ways. Now, we are early stage and we're exploring a bunch of different types of use cases. The most interesting use case for me that you can see highlighted here is with Celsius Network. And I say the most interesting use case because it is the most elegant application of our sidechain technology to solve a real problem in the industry. And the problem for Celsius, not necessarily a problem, but an added value, an additional value to their community, is they're a centralized finance app right now, a CeFi app, where they do multiple billions of dollars worth of peer-to-peer lending. People post cryptocurrency collateral, they can get loans on that collateral and fiat currency and other types of cryptocurrency and so forth. But their issue is their customers need to all believe that their databases are true, right? And this is kind of the point of blockchain, right? Is what I say our value proposition is not something mundane, like we're just building blockchains for people. Our value proposition is we are providing integrity for the world's information. That's what we're doing. And that's really, for me, at the core of the Horizen ecosystem, the tools that we're building with Zendu, providing integrity for the world's information. And for a company like Celsius that can have additional value unlocked in their ecosystem by providing integrity for the information on their system, partnering with us just makes complete sense. So we're building for them what we call an audit chain that actually, in a decentralized way, uses zero knowledge proofs where Celsius will be able to prove that they own a set of addresses across multiple blockchains that they operate on by signing transactions from these addresses to prove cryptographically that they own the addresses. These addresses then are tracked in a decentralized way using zero knowledge so that we can retain the privacy of those addresses so the world doesn't see the addresses, but we can still perform auditing operations on them where we can prove to the world, hey, look, X number of Bitcoin are controlled by these addresses. So their reserves that they claim that they have supporting their network are actually true. And right now, proof of reserves is one of the biggest problems that this segment of the industry has, because it's exploding. DeFi, CeFi, they're exploding. But customers are always wary of do you really hold reserves that you claim you do? Or are you doing something funny or some funny business with those reserves? Or do you not actually have the reserves? Are you lending more than you have? Are you just creating another fractional reserve, monetary system here? Or are you actually you're doing something that that is honest? And I'm not saying fractional reserve monetary systems are not honest, but Celsius is not running a fractional reserve monetary system, right? So they claim they have reserves to back their deposits, And now we are building an audit chain that can actually cryptographically in a decentralized way prove this using our technology. So to me, that use case sums up the most elegant application of what we're doing is providing a service to the rest of the industry. Now, Zen is absolutely required to run this service because we have all of these, the magic of our system is it's decentralized. We're not just creating centralized systems where, trust Rob. Rob is going to go and validate transactions on this audit chain. Trust Rob. No, that's not good enough. Don't trust Rob. Don't trust banks. Don't trust your local government. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, but the point of blockchain is don't trust people. Build a decentralized system so that the system itself is trustworthy. It doesn't rely on particular actors to be trustworthy. So the thing with our audit chain and then with all of our products using Zendio is that you have all of these decentralized actors that we have no idea who they are. Like we're going to have different job functions in here. So you have people who do block forging. Like block forging is the analog in the proof of stake world. Our sidechain is a proof of stake to mining in the proof of work world. So you have these block forgers that are aggregating transactions that are broadcast to the sidechain. They're bundling them together, adding them to a block, and they're competing to have the right to add that block to the chain. They get paid. They get paid in Zen in an automated rules-based way. They get paid in Zen and micropayments from the transaction load itself. You have special types of block forgers in our system. You have a special type of block forger that does a main chain reference and adds that main chain reference to a sidechain block. They get paid in Zen. We're building a GPU, or we're designing an algorithm to be GPU optimized to process snarks, because snarks are at the heart, the succinct non-interactive arguments of knowledge, these like zero knowledge proofs are at the heart of our sidechain technology. And we want to be as efficient as possible. So we're designing a type of worker in the system that is GPU optimized to do nothing but process snarks. They get paid in Zen. So all of these different people that interact and work together to make the sidechain system successful and these products all get paid in Zen. So you can see at the end of the day here, this is a significant, this is a massive pivot, a complete pivot for the value proposition for Zen itself. Thus far, as of right now, because all of this stuff is on testnet, as of right now, Zen is a privacy coin, right? That's where we are. Zen is a privacy coin as of today. What's the utility for Zen? Well, you can pay people in Zen. You can, pay people in Zen. There are other things you can do with Zen, but I mean, at the core of it, Zen is a privacy coin today. When this technology goes to mainnet, Zen is all of a sudden required for collateral. If you want to be a block forger and on a proof of stake system, you need to post stake to increase your chances to win the right to add your block to the chain and get rewarded for doing so, right? So there's an organic transaction flow of all of these users of the sidechains, all include in their transactions Zen for payments to all the different actors. So you have a revenue stream, and when you have a revenue stream, you have a value of that revenue stream in finance, right? So the value of the revenue stream and the required rate of return for someone who does block forging, for instance, is just an example. And this is just a theoretical example. If we have a sidechain that generates $20,000 a year in recurring revenue through transactions, $20,000, and I mean specifically to say block forgers, to a particular entity, $20,000. And if that block forger has a required rate of return of say 10%, to them, to post capital, they have a required rate of return of 10%. Well, 10% required rate of return on a $20,000 cash flow means that $200,000 roughly in equilibrium would be posted as collateral to the sidechain of Zen, right? So you see here, Zen is required for transaction gas. Zen is required for collateral to be able to participate in here and earn these rewards. So it completely pivots the value proposition from Zen. Yeah, sure, it's still a currency, but now it's also this huge utility, value. Anyway, so not to go too much in there, I'm really excited about the partnerships because they're proving the use cases, and they're actually, it's not like audit chain is the only thing that this technology can do. We're going to be able to do 1,000 other things, but like how cool of a use case. The second largest lender in the industry is partnering with us to provide blockchain type services that leverage the strength of what we're building with Zendio. So anyway, we have a bunch of other partnerships out there. We're going to be announcing them on kind of a continuous flow as well. A couple of really huge deals that we've just recently signed are going to be announced in the coming month as well. So again, all just really strong, indications that what we're doing actually has a market and users for it at the end of the day. There are a bunch of technical things, not technical, but some, what do you call them, administrative aspects of our growth over 2020 that we should mention is we're massively maturing our markets, which is huge, right? And absolutely critical. So if people think finance is irrelevant, they're not paying attention. Finance fuels everything that we're doing. And finance is absolutely necessary and required to build this peer-to-peer ecosystem. Like what I say is we're building a peer-to-peer economy here. That's what I think of what we're doing at the end of the day. We're building a peer-to-peer economy that links people all over the world. Well, at the core of this is finance and decentralized finance. So we need to make sure that we are building our markets to make them more mature, more liquid, more efficient, so that people are willing to come in. You know, if there's no liquidity on our markets, then people are not going to want to come in, whether they're professional funds, traders, or people that just want to hold for the long term. You're not going to buy an asset, or it puts you on a different part of the demand curve for an asset if you have no liquidity, because there are some people that are okay with holding an illiquid asset for a long period of time, but there are many more people who are not okay with that, and they require liquidity for your markets in order to induce them to feel comfortable to hold this asset, to hodl this asset over time. And that's what we need. We've been focusing on it. We've actually had some fantastic new exchange listings, and we've had some fantastic new pairs listed on exchanges, in particular for derivatives markets for Zen. So Zen's maturing across the board. So Binance listed a perpetual contract. We've had a variety of perpetual contracts now, futures contracts for Zen on MXC, Binance, Gate.io, right? Other exchanges. My eyesight's not the best in the world, but a variety of different derivatives markets have opened up for Zen, which is absolutely critical because it adds different types of liquidity options for traders to get in on different like maturities of horizons that they're looking at, or timelines for their investments they're looking for, creates arbitrage opportunities, gets more capital in, and so on and so forth. It's a virtuous loop that happens that is behind the scenes. These types of things we don't always talk about as a project. We talk about the software, the technology we're delivering, the use cases and so forth, but also it's fantastic to see it's not us doing it, but other partners are coming in, like these exchanges, other market makers, other funds are coming in and participating and just creating a much healthier ecosystem. Expect much more of this in 2021.
And I just want to jump in there, Rob, just while you're talking about exchanges. And one other big thing that the team just did in Q4 was the Rosetta integration. Can you talk a little bit about the importance and significance of what that actually is?
That's a great question. So Rosetta is an integration standard that Coinbase created. And for Coinbase, this is how they do listings going forward. So early listings on Coinbase were all kind of done ad hoc, where they would just take the chain's unique technology and integrate it. What they realized was this doesn't scale very well, so they need a common framework for integrating projects. So they now expect projects to integrate into Rosetta. And then once you're integrated into Rosetta, it's much easier for Coinbase to list you. So I mean, there's no surprise. We've been talking to Coinbase for a while. Coinbase is an extremely professional company, and they do not disclose any information, any insider information to teams, to anyone really. So we can't say definitively whether or not we will be listed by Coinbase or when. What we can say is Coinbase this last year announced us as on their short list of projects that they're evaluating to integrate or to list on Coinbase. Now, that they published a blog post on that. We're one of, I think it was 18 projects that are on their radar to list. And then we were asked to integrate into Rosetta. So we did it. And this was actually a really big deal for us. We're really happy to integrate in. It took us a few weeks of engineering effort to do it properly. And we're happy to say we're in there. We're positively tested that everything worked out well. And now, all of the groundwork has been laid for, if Coinbase is interested in listing Zen, now it is easy for them to do so. So thank you for the question. That's a really good one.
Great, thanks, Rob.
Okay, what else? There's so much more that goes into a blockchain ecosystem, than just the technology and the markets and the trading and everything that gets like the flashy attention all the time. There's so much work behind the scenes to do community building, to interact with people, to just convince people. Like, educate them. Really, at the heart of all of this is education. So we built Horizen Academy, which was another really big product for us that we put together, I think, a fantastic educational resource free for anyone to, number one, learn about blockchain, learn about Bitcoin, learn about smart contracts, learn about Ethereum, but importantly, obviously, learn about Horizen, learn about what we're doing, learn about what our technology is now. And then beyond that, the just kind of flagship educational asset, this academy, we've also specifically put together a lot of tutorials and training material for how to launch a sidechain, how to customize a data box within a sidechain so that you can customize some logic to do something specific on your sidechain. A lot of tutorials for Zendu, a lot of documentation. So documentation is critical. In fact, again, in a resource unconstrained world, it's on our hiring list right now, but we need a document writer, like someone who really understands Zendu inside out and can communicate this and draw up documentation, like embedded it in our engineering team. So as our engineers are coding, I want to document, right? This is proper software development that scales. Is you can't just do this stuff like duct tape programming and hope that people can figure it out. I think you have to have people writing documentation simultaneously to actually developing. So that we've been doing a lot of that over the last year, and just lots of other community building things. The community hub, the Horizen Community Hub was launched. Bunch of rethinking our messaging, website improvements, just a lot going on, guys. Our node system had a bunch of backend improvements over the last year. And you can see the count for our nodes. We've had some blips, ups and downs, but the overall trend has been overwhelmingly up over the last year, to the tune of, again, like I said at the beginning, 15 to 16% node growth. So not to go too much into the details on everything since I've been talking for so long, we also have concerted media outreach, and we need to get out there and communicate what we're doing to the world, because what we're doing, again, it's like if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, did it even fall, right? Well, if we build the best technology in the world and no one pays attention to it, does it matter, right? So we're getting out there to a very large extent. We're getting on a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, getting a lot of PR, press release exposure out there in different media outlets. So the way that the foundation has been working since we had this budget shock in 2020 is we've narrowed down the focus of the foundation to two specific things. One is the software stuff. We need to get Zendu to mainnet, and that's the entire focus, right? We talked, like Spencer had the great question about mobile wallets. Well, we're specifically focused on getting Zendu to mainnet with our technology effort. The second pillar of what we reserved a little bit of funding for, and honestly not even close to enough, but communication. So maintaining the communications channels, having a PR team that can actually relay to the world what we're doing. So when we have a great new partnership, we need to get that news out there to the world. So we have a very small PR contingent. We work with Waxman PR still. Really happy. A big shout out to the team that we have run by Matt over at Waxman. They do a fantastic job of working with our marketing team. We have a couple of fantastic marketers that are constantly working with our engineering team to digest in language that the rest of the world can understand of the importance of what we're doing, especially with partnerships, and curating this information, working with the PR team at Waxman and broadcasting it to the world. So we've actually been getting a lot of PR exposure. This was something that really, I think has been taking off in Q4 of last year, but is going to be, 10x this year in 2021 with our partnerships that we have, and just the amount of excitement and attention that's going through the industry. We're just seeing so much more interest in what's going on. So you can see just a big list of YouTube channels we've been on, podcast interviews. We got Dean, our in-house general counsel, had some commentary on Fox News even. He was pumped about that, a mainstream outlet that he got onto. So we've been all over the blogosphere to traditional mainstream media. And we've participated in a lot of events. Big shout out here to Guanyin. A lot of these events were in China, and he actually went to them in person. Guanyin is the ultimate community builder. He's just been working nonstop, diligently, often behind the scenes. Now, recently, he's been giving some updates on the weekly insiders, but he deserves a lot more credit for the stuff that he's been doing. And I hope he also has a prominent role with HCC and just the community building activities that are going on. And again, beyond the China market, we're also doing a lot of other outreach stuff. We've been working with Major League Hacking to host just a sequence or a series of different webinars on actually using training content for young developers, like at universities, to teach them how to interact with the Horizen blockchain, and then to give them a little bit of a kernel for what's coming down the pipeline with Zendu. But really, that was kind of a UTXO-based curriculum on how to work with our main chain today. But still, just a lot going on, guys. Like building a public blockchain ecosystem is tiring, but so rewarding. And like really, this at the end of the day is a project and an ecosystem that is owned by the community. And like I said at the start of this, we are writing ourselves out of a job every single day. And the faster we do that, the better. And this starts with, I want to see in 2021 with HCC, a significant expansion of community engagement. So I highly recommend anyone listening to this, interested from the community, if you want to participate in some way, reach out to Spencer, reach out to Michael, reach out to, P. Stu, reach out to any of the guys really just at the heart of HCC and just ask how you can help. It starts there. Make some recommendations. Like the one experiment I want to do next, like immediately, is I want to start curating some opportunities on how to evangelize and participate and add them to HDE and add bounties to them. I want to pay people to participate. And guys, like even if we don't necessarily come up with the best value proposition for these tasks, I don't care. I just want to get started, and we'll learn as we go and refine them as we go. So.
Rob,
for the insights. It's incredible to see the volume of work that's being completed, and you guys are just kicking so many goals. And yeah, I'm super pumped to see mainnet launch this year, and no doubt that's going to be a super exciting time for the project. And yeah, watch out world, Zen is coming. So yeah, incredible work, I think. Yeah, very exciting. And yeah, a shout out to anyone interested in being involved with the HCC. People might still be a bit unsure what that is. So it's the Horizen Community Council. It's in the process of formation at the moment, but essentially it will act as a bridge between the community and the foundation and the team. And we're super excited to be involved with that. Spencer, myself, and Peter Stew at the moment are getting things off the ground and running, and we're hoping to welcome many more community members into that. And it'll be great to see a lot more community involvement. And do you have any thoughts you want to add, Spencer?
Well, I do have a special message for Rob from Trollolino. Well, no, actually, that'll wait for another time.
Trollolino is one of our favorite guys who's been around from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
So I think this was amazing.
I think we can address this issue directly on the live stream.
Cool.
I think I probably know what any answers might be at the moment.
Awesome. Guys, I didn't realize I'm 10 minutes late for another meeting. This has been so much fun. Alrighty. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rob.
Cheers.
Bye, Rob.
Cheers. Yeah. Bye. And we're back. I hope you all enjoyed that hour-long session with Rob, going over all the achievements that they did last year and some exciting things to look forward to this year. I don't have any closing comments myself, but just all I want to say is please join the Horizen Discord channel and Telegram as well to keep up to date with the latest news with the team. And you can head to horizen.io and you can find links on there to join the Horizen Discord. And the Discord channel is where most of the community action takes place. So do make sure you check that out. And do you have any final words you want to say, Spencer, before we sign off?
Again, very excited to kick off the new year with a live stream with an exceptional interview from Rob, and encouraging people to, again, join that Discord server, find out what's happening with community members with the Horizen ecosystem, and get involved. Take a look at the Horizen Community Council, see where you can pitch in and do something to keep this project moving forward.
Great. Thanks a lot, Spencer. And thank you,
Thank you, Michael.
everyone, for joining us. And also thanks to Rob for spending his time with us pre-recording that interview. And we hope to see you all online again soon. Take care and keep Zen. Cheers, everyone.
Exactly.
Bye.
Take care.